The SBU had deployed a brand new drone capable of operating underwater to strike a Russian submarine based in the Novorossiysk naval base. The drones didn't just score hits, they shattered through the submarine's hull, causing it to sink.
December 15, 2025, Novorossiysk port, Russia's most secure naval base on the Black Sea. A Russian submarine sits docked at the pier, hidden among warships and patrol boats. Its hull absorbs sound like a ghost. But beneath the dark waters, something is moving closer, something the Russians never saw coming. In minutes, the entire port would shake. What happened next would change naval warfare forever. This wasn't just another drone strike. This was history being written in real time. Let's go back to understand why this moment mattered so much. For 3 years, Ukraine has been fighting a war where the odds are stacked against them. No major navy, no aircraft carriers, no fleet of destroyers. Russia, on the other hand, controls the Black Sea with submarines, missile ships, and naval power that Ukraine simply cannot match. Or so everyone thought. The submarine sitting in Novorossiysk was a Kilo-class vessel. Russians call it the Varshavianka. NATO calls it deadly. This submarine is worth $400 million, but here's what makes it truly dangerous. It carries 4 Kalibr cruise missiles. These aren't ordinary missiles. They can fly over 1,500 kilometers. They can hit hospitals, power plants, apartment buildings. For months, missiles from submarines like this one have been raining down on Ukrainian cities. Kyiv, Kharkiv, Dnipro, civilians have died, infrastructure has crumbled. And the submarines, they disappear into the depths, invisible, untouchable. The Kilo class is nicknamed the Black Hole. Why? Because its hull design absorbs sound waves, sonar can't detect it, it moves through water like a shadow. Even in port, it's protected by layers of security. Patrol boats circle the harbor. Surveillance cameras watch every angle. Physical barriers block the approaches. Hitting a submarine in a defended harbor is considered nearly impossible. But Ukraine had a plan, and that plan involved something the world had never seen before. For years, Ukraine's Security Service, the SBU, has been developing unmanned drones for naval warfare. They started with surface drones, small boats packed with explosives controlled remotely, navigating through enemy waters. These Sea Baby drones became famous. In July 2023, they struck the Kerch Bridge, the symbol of Russian occupation in Crimea. Later, they hit patrol ships, landing craft, and oil tankers. The drones forced Russia's Black Sea Fleet to abandon Sevastopol, their main base in occupied Crimea. Russian ships fled to Novorossiysk on the mainland, hopping the distance would keep them safe. But the SBU wasn't done. They were working on something new, something underwater. The Sea Baby, an underwater drone designed for stealth and precision. Unlike the surface drones that race across waves, these move beneath them. They slip past defenses. They avoid radar. They approach targets from below where no one is watching. And they carry enough explosives to cripple a submarine. The technology is still shrouded in secrecy. We know the Sea Baby surface drones can travel over 1,500 kilometers and carry up to 2,000 kilograms of payload. The underwater variant, details are scarce, but what we do know is this: it worked. The operation was a joint effort. The SBU's 13th Main Directorate of Military Counterintelligence partnered with the Ukrainian Navy. They studied Novorossiysk. They mapped the harbor. They identified the submarine. They planned the approach. Every detail had to be perfect. One mistake and the mission would fail. Worse, the technology could fall into Russian hands. The target submarine was trapped, not by damage but by circumstance. Earlier Ukrainian drone strikes had made Sevastopol too dangerous. Russian ships couldn't dock there safely anymore, so they moved to Novorossiysk. It was supposed to be a sanctuary, protected Russian soil far from the front lines, but Ukraine's drones don't respect borders. The submarine sat at the pier, flanked by other warships. Russian sailors moved about their routines. Security patrols swept the harbor. Everything seemed normal. But deep below the surface, the Sea Baby drones were moving into position. Here's where it gets interesting. Underwater warfare is a different beast. Surface drones are visible, you can shoot at them, you can intercept them, but underwater you're blind. Sonar might catch something, but the Black Sea is murky. Noise from ships, engines, and waves creates confusion. The Sea Baby drones exploited this. They navigated through the chaos, silent and invisible. And then they struck. Video footage released by the SBU shows the moment of impact. The submarine sits docked, surrounded by other vessels. Suddenly, a massive explosion erupts from the water, splashes shoot into the air. The blast echoes across the port, smoke rises, the submarine jolts from the force, critical damage. The SBU reported that the submarine was effectively put out of action. Its hull was compromised, its systems were damaged, and those 4 Kalibr missile launchers, useless. The submarine that had terrorized Ukrainian cities was now a wreck. But the mission wasn't just about destroying one submarine, it was about sending a message. For Russia, this strike was a nightmare. Novorossiysk was supposed to be untouchable. If Ukraine could hit a submarine there, what else could they hit? Naval bases across Russia's Black Sea coast suddenly looked vulnerable. And the psychological impact, devastating. Russian sailors now know that even in port, even surrounded by defenses, they're not safe. For Ukraine, this was a game changer. They proved that innovation beats size. They proved that a country without a traditional navy can still dominate the seas. They proved that underwater drones aren't just a concept, they're a weapon, and they proved it on the biggest stage possible. Think about the challenges they overcame. They had to develop the technology from scratch. Ukraine didn't have underwater drones before this war. They had to build them, test them, and deploy them under the pressure of an ongoing conflict. They had to navigate international waters, evade Russian patrols, and execute a precision strike in a defended harbor. And they had to do it all without getting caught. The logistics alone are staggering. How do you transport underwater drones? How do you control them from hundreds of kilometers away? How do you ensure they hit the target and not some decoy or barrier? The SBU hasn't revealed these details, and for good reason. This is cutting-edge military technology. Revealing too much would give adversaries a blueprint to counter it. But we can infer a few things. The drones likely use a combination of GPS, sonar, and AI-assisted navigation. They're probably controlled via encrypted communications, possibly using satellite links to avoid detection. And they're designed to be expendable. Once they strike, they're gone, but the damage they inflict is permanent. The strike on December 15 wasn't just a tactical victory, it was a strategic shift. For months, Russia has used its submarines to launch long-range missile attacks on Ukraine. Every time a Kalibr missile hits a Ukrainian city, it's launched from a submarine like the one in Novorossiysk. These submarines are mobile, they're hard to track, and they're hard to stop, until now. By disabling this submarine, Ukraine removed a key piece from Russia's arsenal. Those 4 missile launchers won't fire again. That's 4 fewer missiles targeting Ukrainian civilians, and it's a $400 million loss for Russia. In wartime, that's not just money. That's years of construction, training, and operational capability. With international sanctions limiting Russia's access to technology and parts, replacing this submarine could cost up to $500 million, if it's even possible. And there's another layer to this story: the timing. This strike happened just after talks between Ukrainian and US officials in Berlin. Diplomacy was in the air, peace negotiations were being discussed, and then Ukraine drops this bombshell. It's a reminder to everyone at the negotiating table: Ukraine isn't weak, they're not desperate, they're innovating. They're winning battles that no one thought they could win. President Zelensky said Ukraine must be absolutely sure about security guarantees before agreeing to any peace deal. This strike reinforces that message. It shows that Ukraine has the capability to defend itself, to strike back, and to shape the battlefield even when the odds are against them. But let's not forget the bigger picture. This war isn't just about Ukraine and Russia, it's about the future of warfare. Drones have already changed the battlefield on land, now they're changing it at sea. And if Ukraine can do this with limited resources, imagine what larger nations with bigger budgets can do. Naval warfare may never be the same. The subsea baby represents a new era. Surface ships can be seen, aircraft can be shot down, but underwater drones, they're the shadows of the modern battlefield. They're cheap to produce, hard to detect, and devastatingly effective. And Ukraine just proved it. The strike also highlights a brutal reality for Russia. Despite their numerical superiority, despite their larger fleet and bigger budget, they're losing control of the Black Sea. Ukrainian drones have damaged or destroyed over 15 Russian ships. Another 12 have been damaged. Russia has been forced to relocate their fleet, abandon key bases, and watch as their naval dominance crumbles. And it's not just about ships, it's about morale. Russian sailors know they're vulnerable. Every time they dock, they wonder if an underwater drone is approaching. Every time they patrol, they scan the waters nervously. Fear is a weapon, and Ukraine is wielding it effectively. So what does this mean for the future? For Ukraine, it's a validation. Their strategy of asymmetric warfare is working. They can't match Russia ship for ship, but they don't need to. They can innovate, adapt, and strike where it hurts most. For Russia, it's a warning. Their fleet is no longer safe. Their ports are no longer sanctuaries, and their submarines, once their most feared weapons, are now targets. For the rest of the world, it's a wake-up call. Naval warfare is evolving. The age of massive fleets and battleships is fading. The age of drones, both above and below the water, is here, and Ukraine is leading the way. But there's still a question hanging in the air. What comes next? Will Russia retaliate? Will they develop countermeasures? Will they abandon Novorossiysk too? Or will Ukraine strike again, proving that no port, no matter how defended, is truly safe? One thing is certain. December 15, 2025 will be remembered as the day naval warfare changed. The day an underwater drone struck a submarine in a defended harbor. The day Ukraine showed the world that innovation beats size, strategy beats strength, and determination beats overwhelming odds. The submarine is damaged, the port was shaken, and history was made. Now it's your turn. What would you have done differently? Would you have risked the strike? Would you have developed the technology? Share your thoughts in the comments. And if you want more stories like this, hit that like button, subscribe, and turn on notifications. Because the future of warfare is unfolding right now and you don't want to miss it.